Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Stevie B's Media Production is a part of the Shellcaster Network.
The proclamation of the gospel of Jesus Christ by members of the Churches of Christ. With your host, Stevie R. Butler. You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
You are my protector, and you are my provider, and my deliverer. There's no other help I know. You are my protector, and you are my provider, and my deliverer. There's no other help I know. I really love the
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
Good evening, wherever you are in the world listening to this radio broadcast. Stevie B's Media Production presents What a Word from the Lord radio show. I'm your host this evening, Stevie R. Butler, and this radio show is being broadcast from Stevie B's Media Production at the Carolina studio in the great state of North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just grateful for the privilege to be able to bring you a program where we as Christians and members of the churches of Christ can share our faith and preach and teach the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ on a weekly basis. If you'd like to contact us while we're on the air this evening, just give me a call to the live show at 713-955-0508, or you can go to the Blog Talk Radio website and listen to the show live there. When you go to the Blog Talk Radio website, look at the top left-hand corner. You'll see the live tab there. Just tap on that tab, and all of the shows that are on the website will appear, and on every page, there are at least 20 shows that are airing live at this hour. And when I just checked before we came on the air, there's over 1,700 shows on that website, and you will find this show tonight on page 1. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Out of 1,700 shows, this show is on page 1. Thank God. Amen. And also, if you like to send your questions or comments for my emails, your questions or comments into my co-host on this broadcast, you can send it to my new email address, butlersteve1009 at yahoo.com, or you can call Stevie B's Media Production at the Carolina studio at 910-491-6405. Now, again, this program is brought to you by members of the Churches of Christ, and if you need any assistance in locating a congregation in your area, please feel free to contact us. Now, folks, on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this is a special edition that we have every third Tuesday of the month, and we'll also have a special edition next Tuesday with the Kelly Fletcher Show. But on tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new production. Dr. Anthereca Lane from Cincinnati, Ohio. She's a board-certified obstetricianist and gynecologist. She serves with the Gray Road Church of Christ there in Cincinnati, Ohio. She has a new show that will be airing under Stevie B's Media Production called Conversations Lane. I think you're really going to enjoy what you're hearing from Dr. Lane. Take it away, Dr. Lane. Enjoy your listening experience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Stevie R. Butler, a.k.a. Stevie B.
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
Stevie B Media Productions presents, in collaboration with Lane Media and Photography, a special presentation of What a Word from the Lord radio show, featuring Conversations with Dr. Lane, hosted by Dr. Anthereca Lane, Board-Certified Obstetrician and Gynecologist. Conversations with Dr. Lane, where health and life intersect. Are you ready to learn to live a life that is overflowing with victory and empowerment? Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Lane. Dr. Lane is a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. She is committed to addressing health holistically from the mind, body, and soul.
Hi, this is Dr. Anthereca Lane with Conversations with Dr. Lane. Let's talk about those things that we do not have time to discuss during an appointment. Let's talk about your finances, business, education, relationships. If I can empower you to make healthy decisions in these areas, I am convinced your mind will be more focused and more open to a conversation about your health.
Turn up the volume. Get ready for Conversations with Dr. Lane.
Hello, this is Dr. Anthereca Lane with Conversations with Dr. Lane, where life and health intersect. We are so excited to be joining the Pure Essence TV family. We can be watched on your Roku right in the comfort of your home. You also can find this show on the Lane Women's Health on Demand YouTube channel and Lane Media and Photography YouTube channel. We're excited to bring you up-to-date information that's relevant to your life and your health. We are going to have a fantastic show for you tonight. Stay tuned. Let's go. Well, hello. This is Dr. Anthereca Lane with an episode of Conversations with Dr. Lane. We have another interesting show for you tonight. I always like to think about health very holistically or comprehensively. And really, Conversations with Dr. Lane is really where life and health intersect. And what better conversation that impacts our life than transportation? Today, we have an exciting guest. His name is Harold Taylor. Harold Taylor is an e-vehicle or an electric vehicle consultant. Let's bring Harold on.
Hi,
hello,
Dr.
Harold.
Lane.
Hey, Harold, how are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for joining the show this evening. I really hope that we can really demystify electric vehicles tonight or today.
Yes, for sure.
So, first of all, what made you become an electric vehicle consultant, and what is an electric vehicle consultant?
Well, I'll start off by telling you what an electric vehicle consultant is. First, short answer is somebody who likes electric vehicles and decides to, talk about them all the time and consult with different parties. Like if people want to buy an electric vehicle and they need a little help, education, well, I'm the person they come to. Sometimes there's companies that need education, and I'm the person that they come to. The way I started off was completely weird and strange. Started off when I was a kid. I used to race electric cars. I used to like racing cars, and I would race slot cars, and they were great. They were fast, and they were pretty much quiet unless you crashed into somebody. And but then when I grew up, I had to sort of help my dad work on some of our cars. We had used cars in the family, and we had to keep them running. And so that entailed a lot of mixing of gas and oil, and that was kind of sloppy and messy. And I always thought, man, I wish I could have an electrical car. So it wasn't until I was an adult that electric cars actually came out, and they're easy to, or somewhat easy to obtain. And so I sort of morphed into an electric vehicle consultant, and sort of that's the fast story of how I got here.
Okay. All right, great. So really started at a very young age. Now, are you personally an owner of an e-vehicle?
Yes, I have an electrical vehicle. I've been driving electric since 2013.
And in that time, do you feel that you have proven the savings that's always talked about with driving electric versus gas?
Oh, yes. When we first made that change back in 2013, there was not that many electric vehicles around, and there was pretty much no real charging stations. We charged at home in the garage. At that time I was driving, I had a job where I had to commute about 75 miles one way, so 150 miles round trip. My first electrical vehicle had a range of about 180, so I charged up at night and had a full tank in the morning, drove to work and drove back home, plugged it in, and I was ready for the next day. And so making that change really saved us a lot of money because we didn't have to spend a lot on gas anymore. Fairly, I guess it was cheaper than it is now back in 2013, but it was still considered expensive back then. And so that made a big difference. And I've been driving electric since then.
So let's talk a little bit about the running out of charge possibility. I mean, how do you really keep from running out of charge? I think about my schedule sometimes, and I am just like all over the place. I mean, how do you keep from running out of charge? And if you do run out of charge, is there some kind of contingency built in?
So basically, most people are. It's the term for that is basically range anxiety. And nowadays, you have electric vehicles that can go anywhere from, like the lowest is 80 to 100 miles range to up to 520 miles on a full charge. That's where an EV or electric vehicle consultant comes in handy because they know the different ranges for the different models out there, and you basically go over what your normal driving habits are. And you try to get a car that someone likes how it looks and likes how it drives, but also has the range that they need in order to do the things that they do most of the time. We sort of try to do a 90% of the time to 10%. So 90% of the time you just go back and forth to work or back and forth to the grocery store, 10 or 20 miles. Other people, as in my case, I used to drive a lot to go to work. I needed a range that my first car had a range of 180 miles. So if I drove the 150 miles to and from work, I was still good. Basically, you come home, you plug it in your charger at night, it fills up overnight, you get up, and you've got a full tank. So you usually don't really, if you charge yourself up, if you have a plan, you usually don't run out of charge. Now, if you're on a trip going, say, for instance, from the East Coast to the West Coast, some of the electric vehicles, or most of them, have a navigation system that has the charging stations built in, and there are charging stations situated all over the country now. So this is really a great time to get an electric vehicle because you're not a pioneer. It's already been explored. They have a lot of stations out there. And as long as you do what you normally do, which is to have enough charge to get to the next charger, you're fine and you don't run out of charge. I can just tell you that when I was a young adult and driving a gas car, I basically never ran out of gas. And the reason why is when I got to a half a tank of gas, I would go to the gas station and fill it up. If I was on a road trip and I was at a half a tank, I started looking for gas or keeping an eye out for gas. And then if I had gotten down to a fourth of the tank, I would definitely stop no matter what the cost was. And so I never ran out of gas, ever. But I've been in a car that's run out of gas or cars that have run out of gas 4 times. So if you just go in and plug in your car, you will not have that problem. And if you do a long road trip, the car will help you, or there are apps out there where they will show you where the charging stations are, and you shouldn't run out of charge or fuel, but some people still do. And if that happens, that's why you still have AAA and the other people out there to help come sort of rescue you so that they can take you to a charger.
Right. Okay. All right. So since we're talking about charging, how does the home charge technology work? Does something need to be installed, and does it raise your electric bill?
So there's 3 different types of chargers. You have one of those chargers at home already, and that's just the 3-prong plug. I have friends who have gone for several years with an electric vehicle who just use the 3-prong plug in their garage to charge, and you get about 4 miles per hour. But they only went maybe 5 or 10 miles a day. They didn't really go that far, and that's great for them. The next step up is something called a level 2 charger, where an electrician will install like a dryer plug in your garage, which most of the time is not that expensive. And then you can plug in your charger and then plug that into your car, and you can get about 25 miles per hour charge. And that's basically what you do overnight. And it usually takes care of most of your fueling issues if you come home and just plug it in. That's the key to this, is to have a habit to come home or wherever you are and plug in so that you're good and ready to set off on your trip or set off on where you need to go the next day. And then if you're on a long road trip, you want to have access to what's called DC fast chargers or level 3 chargers. They charge really fast. They can give you about 120 to 140 miles in about 20 to 30 minutes, which is what you need when you're on a road trip. And of course, some people say, well, gosh, I got to wait 20 or 30 minutes. Well, in those 20 or 30 minutes, you go to the bathroom, you take care of other business, and some people will go eat at a restaurant. It really doesn't hinder you that much. And most of the time, even when you're younger, your bladder only can last probably 150 miles anyway. So you have to make a stop.
Do you have an interest in recording? Do you need help taking your music from a thought to reality to full production, including videos and distribution? Finally get those songs finished. To take your music to the next level, text or call JT at 513-833-0182. That's JT Emerson at 513-833-0182.
Right. So when I drive, we're going to switch gears a little bit. When I drive, I'm really all about the experience. Like, when I was younger, it didn't matter so much, but then my husband, he introduced me to various vehicles that now I'm all about the experience. And I really wonder if that driving experience, is it compromised in some way by going electric?
Well, the driving experience, I think, is actually better. One of the things about an electric car is that you have instantaneous torque. So once you push down on the accelerator, you take off. There's no gears to go through. So it's a full, all speed ahead, 0 to 60 really fast if you want to. There are also times that you don't want to go that fast and you just don't push on the accelerator as much. But all the changing of the gears and the little hesitations that you find in some of the other cars because they have to go through a transmission, you don't have that with an electric vehicle. So that experience is great. It's quiet. Some people feel like, oh my gosh, it's too quiet. I like the sound of the engine. Well, if you get a chance to drive and experience electric vehicle, I'm pretty sure you will not mind that you don't have the engine noise anymore. And some automobile companies have decided that, hey, still need that noise, so they'll pipe in the engine sound, sort of a looped type of engine sound inside the cabin, so you can feel like you're, changing gears and all, but you're still driving an electric vehicle. So the experience is great. It's usually a smooth ride. The car is safe. Batteries are mounted low, and so that gives it a very, very low center of gravity, so they don't roll over as much as regular gas cars, and they sort of like stick to the ground. It's I don't know if you've heard a racer's expression that driving on rails. It's because the car stays on the ground and it turns when you want it to turn because of that low center of gravity. So the experience is great.
Wow, that definitely sounds like something I need to test drive for sure. So you're definitely doing your job here as a consultant for sure. So one of the thoughts that I had as I considered an e-vehicle is just the overall technology and what are the chances that the technology of my e-vehicle will become obsolete and then it has no trade-in value. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
So since 2013, there have been a lot of different EVs to come out, and there are more EVs coming out in the future. There's still, just the other day, last week, I saw a car from back in 2013 still on the road, still going strong. They're still out there. They're still going. So even though the technology may be a little old, that car is still good for somebody. It may you may keep it for its lifetime, or you may sell it and it goes on the used car market, and somebody who just needs to go from point A to point B, like going to the grocery store, doing a few errands, they can use that car. You can use that money to get a brand new car. Say that you need to, travel across the United States, or you travel further and you wanted some fancy upgrades. It's the cars are basically they're great. They're great, and they have they still keep their value. It's just a difference in their value.
Awesome. Well, as you know, I'm a physician, and we cannot wrap up our conversation without really understanding in this conversation where life and health intersect, and why choosing an e-vehicle really can be a health decision. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's a health decision because with gas vehicles, you have a lot of emissions. You hear about it on the news all the time, but basically, to really hone in on the point, is when you stand by a car or stand by a bus and you stand by the tailpipe, you get all choked up. That's because of the particulate matter and greenhouse gases, and that affect both your lungs and your heart in the long run, and it contribute to air pollution. So with the electric vehicle, there's zero emissions from the tailpipe because it doesn't have a tailpipe. They do not burn gas. They're more efficient. And so by switching over to electric vehicles, you get a chance to sort of clean up their environment. You don't have to be an environmentalist. You can just be somebody who wants to have a nice car, a quick car, an efficient car, that car that saves you money, and it happens to help the planet too and help your fellow man. But you may not care about that, but you can still buy an EV, and you can care about all the other parts of a car.
Definitely. So as we come to a close on our conversation, I have to ask you, who do you think has the best vehicle, or give me maybe the top 3 that you really, really like?
So that's going to be a tough question because there are a lot of EVs out there. And this comes across, this is a question that's asked all the time. And the best EV for you is the one that you're going to like driving, how it handles, and what it has inside. So there's EVs for families. Like if you have 2 or 3 kids and you have to have some car seats, you need to have an EV that's going to accommodate that. If you're somebody who's going to go racing on the weekend but also use their car to drive to work, then you will have a different kind of car. There are cars that sort of have a spacious, minimalistic interior, and then there's cars that have all the bells and whistles. And you can get cars in a lot of different form factors now. So I'm hesitant to say which one is the best. There's certain car companies, electric vehicle car companies that have been out longer, but everybody is sort of introducing cars, electric vehicles now, and they have trucks coming out now. So you can go from sedan to SUV to crossovers to trucks, and so that almost covers the wide spectrum of cars out there. So my best advice is that you should probably test drive a car, see if it fits your family, fits yourself, how you drive, your driving style, how far you have to go, and use it for 90% of the time. If you try to do the 100%, then you're probably buying too much car or too much truck because, you have that one time that you want to drive all the way to California, maybe once every 3 years. Well, if you're going to do that, you just either EV or go a different way. But 90% of the time, you're probably going to go to work, go grocery shopping, go to events. Those are sort of fairly reasonable places around so that you don't have to sort of get too much car.
Got it. Wow, Harold, this has been great. I really, I'm even more excited to start shopping for an e-vehicle. I don't know if I'll be able to go in that direction, but I'm definitely, after this conversation, I'm definitely going to go look and see what the options are, and definitely need to test drive. That might actually be my deciding factors, just the driving experience. I'm really excited about that.
Right. And nowadays, the range and prices for new EVs are anywhere from $20,000 on up. For used EVs, $10,000 on up. And in 2023, you're going to have the IRA, which is the Inflation Reduction Act, which will give you some rebates, tax credits, in order to change into electric vehicles. So there's a wide variety of vehicles out there, and they're, my number one point nowadays is to tell people that they're very, very safe, safer than gas cars, because of the low center of gravity. They don't roll over. There's ample space and crush zones. So you have a lot of safety in electric vehicles that you don't necessarily have in gas cars, since big engine that potentially can come back into the passenger compartment.
Wow, that's a very important point. Very important to address issues related to safety and e-vehicles, and even some of the financial benefits from a tax standpoint. So that is absolutely excellent, Harold. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. I really learned a lot. I hope our audience learned a lot. Where can audience members find e-vehicle or electric vehicle consultants?
Well, probably your best bet is to check in with some of the local electric vehicle car clubs. Like around Cincinnati, you have Drive Electric Cincinnati, you have Drive Electric Dayton, you have Drive Electric Columbus, and then in the Kentucky region, you have Evolve Kentucky, which is evolveky.org. And they have drivers there that will sometimes even let you test drive their cars in case the dealerships or the sales centers don't have cars to drive. They are owners, so they will tell you all the ins and outs, the pros and cons. And that's probably the best way you can find EV consultants and people to help you in your electric vehicle journey.
Good.
I'd like to speak to you this evening on the topic, the God of my valleys. This is a very dear subject to me, based on Psalms 23. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Notice he uses the word valley. That's a metaphor that we really want to highlight. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. That's wonderful to know that we go through our valleys, but when we go through our valleys, we must not fear. 2 Timothy, the 1st chapter, verse 7 says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." If God didn't give you the spirit of fear when you're in your valley, then it must be the devil. So we are either in a valley, coming out of a valley, or going into a valley. Valleys are inevitable. All of us will go through them. When I look at the Bible characters in the Bible, I remember an occasion in Deuteronomy, the 11th chapter, and verse number 11, where it talks about the children of Israel. It says, "The promised land," God says to those who are about to get it, "the promised land you are about to enter is the land of hills and valleys, So in life, we have mountaintops and we have valleys. And it appears that when we're in the valley, we're in our lowest point. And that's when Satan will attack us. But we're going to have faith that we're going to overcome. And God is going to be with us in that valley, and he's going to give us the victory. Faith observed in optimism daily. You've just been served soul food. Soul food.
This has been another episode of Conversations with Dr. Lane. We are so happy that you have tuned in. Please click, share, subscribe, follow. We want you to share all of this information that you are going to get through this episode tonight. I'd like to thank Harold Taylor for joining us. I'd like to thank my technical producer, Marvin Lane, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Do you have a business or event that you would like to promote? You can advertise during the Conversations with Dr. Lane online show and podcast. Do you need a digital graphic or a voiceover? We've got you covered. Contact our Director of Digital Promotions for pricing now at lanemediaphoto@gmail.com. You are listening to Stevie B and Dr. Anthereca Lane on What a Word from the Lord.
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
When I see the light of the morning sun, and I see that everything is fine, I lift up my eyes and I begin to pray, because I know the love of God is mine. He watches me every day, takes care of me in every way. Whenever I'm in despair, I know the Lord is there. Now what a wonderful Father we must have, for the way He loves us all, one and all. Gave His only Son to take away our sins. Then we gave His life upon the cross. Jesus died on the cross, so that no one should be lost. He's the giver of salvation. There is no need for hesitation. Oh, Christ tonight. Need to have Jesus as your guide. Just give him your heart, your soul and your mind, and he will give you eternal life. Hey, watches me every day, takes care of me in every way. Whenever I'm in despair, I know the Lord is saying yes. When I see the light of the morning sun, and I see that everything is fine, the love of God.
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
Is your congregation in need of lending for a building or expansion project? As your partner and advocate, Diversified Financial Network will take the time to understand your unique situation and develop a financing solution that meets your specific needs. It's an exciting time for your congregation, and what you need is a company with expertise in church financing early in the process. Call us today at 1-866-513-6665 or visit us at www.diversifiedfinancegroup.com.
This is a program reminder. Stevie B's Media Production presents. We're airing live shows here on Blog Talk Radio. The telephone number to the live show is 713-955-0508. And the website is www.blogtalkradio.com/Gospel Light Radio Show. On Tuesday evening, the What a Word from the Lord radio show will air every second Tuesday, every third Tuesday, and every fourth Tuesday of the month. The second Tuesday of the month, the show will air from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we will have a guest speaker from the Brotherhood of the Churches of Christ who will be making the proclamation of the gospel of Christ. And during that show, we have the Community Corner segment for small business owners and entrepreneurs who have products and services for our communities. I have 4 co-hosts on this show. Lou Gilbert, he's the evangelist for the Overbrook Park Church of Christ there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Isa Mullins, he serves with the Church of Christ in Cary, North Carolina. And Kelly Fletcher, she serves the Livingstone Church of Christ there in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Dr. Anthereca Lane, she serves the Great Road Church of Christ there in Cincinnati, Ohio. And every third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, my co-host, Dr. Anthereca Lane, she's a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and she serves the Gray Road Church of Christ there in Cincinnati, Ohio. She has a church show, The Conversations with Dr. Lane. That's the show that you heard on tonight. And then on the fourth Tuesday of the month, my co-host, Kelly Fletcher, she has the Kelly Fletcher Show. That show will air from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then on Thursday evening, I'm hosting a live show, the Gospel Light Radio Show. That show will air from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And there are 7 co-hosts on that show: Clay Phillips, Dr. Frank Washington, Steve Cora, Robert Lee Johnson, Glenn McMillian, Courtney Carruthers, and Brian Christian Coleman on this show. These co-hosts will be presenting lessons from the Word of God. And each week I have 2 of my co-hosts on the air with me. I'm also taking a question from my social media platform called Shout It Out. I'll be posing to my co-hosts on that live show as well. And then on Friday night, I'll be hosting a live show, Stevie B's Acapella Gospel Music Blast. That show will air from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that show is the 2022 recipient for the NACAMA, National Academy of Christian Acapella Music Artists Award for Outstanding Achievement in Record or Radio. On this show, I'm playing some of the world's greatest acapella gospel music artists, the sweet sounds of voices. And every third Friday of the month, I'll be doing a top 20 countdown show for the month of January. That'll be my first top 20 countdown show for the year 2023. We also have my on-demand episode. You can go to the variety, wherever you're getting your podcast from. Go to the variety of musical platforms and listen to these podcasts on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple iTunes, and YouTube, just to name a few. I also have a recorded version that you can listen to on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and on iHeartRadio, Deezer, and Amazon Music. Just search for Stevie B's recorded version shows. We want to thank all of our sponsors who are sponsoring these radio shows. If you would like to become a sponsor, just contact my sponsorship manager, Michelle Marco from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Her telephone number is 954-687-4705. The 3 E's of Stevie B Media Production is the objective of this broadcast. We want to educate, we want to edify, we want to encourage you in the study of God's Word. And that will conclude our program announcements. You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.
Thinking about what you've done for me in my life, I just want to say what you really mean to me. You're my everything, my joy and peace. You're the reason why I sing. Lord, I don't deserve anything you've given me, so I just gotta say thank you. Oh, for tonight, for your love and grace, so I just gotta tell you this. I will always adore you. So I shall worship you for all of my days. You found victory and gave me the strength so I can win this race. Lord, I'm giving you all the honor and all the glory. You shall forever reign. All of these blessings you give me is the reason why I say I will always praise you.
You're listening to What a Word from the Lord radio show.